All right, this is another one of those deals where it's kind of strange. Like, why is F an artist that I have a lot of? But, sometimes it just sort of works out that way. So we're going to try and dive in. So for me, F is a pretty big one. And this is a box set that my mom found either at like a vintage store or yard sale. But Arthur Fielder and the Boston Pops Varieties, 108 all-time popular favorites, featuring, so this is a box set. So first of all, you need to understand my wife's family's from Boston. My dad's family's from Boston. My wife and I had the pleasure of seeing the Boston Pops perform at one point. So definitely one of the reasons that my mom picked this up for me. But it's a box set here. We've got Pops Today, Pops Go Latin, Glenn Miller Hits, Pops with Chet Atkins, The Beatles Hits, $1 Million Movies, Pop Marches, Pop Serenade, Pops Out West, The Sound of Music, Piano Favorites, Intermezzo, Sweet and Lovely, Tenderly, Pops Go Country, Waltz Time, Pops with a Hurt, and Warsaw Concerto. So this is a 9 LP box set featuring Arthur Fielder and the Boston Pops, and it is absolute greatness. What am I doing? How do you put this back together? All right, it is absolute greatness. I'm very glad that I have it. It was a real blessing, and my mom was very thoughtful to sort of pick this up for us. Whew. Okay. Okay, so next, in fact, let's modify this a little bit. Ooh. All right, we're figuring it out. Next is more Arthur Fielder and the Boston Pops, the best of. So there's honestly probably some overlap, some tracks on here that are in that box set, but my mom saw Arthur Fielder and the Boston Pops, and she picked that up for me again, which is a great, just really generous of her. 90 minutes with Arthur Fielder and the Boston Pops. Okay, and that concludes my Arthur Fielder selection. So, very nice. Okay, this is one that I picked up for myself. Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. Picked this up at Half Price Books, but it was a new album. A lot of great stuff on here. Isn't This a Lovely Day? Moonlight in Vermont. They Can't Take That Away From Me. Stars Fell on Alabama, Cheek to Cheek, The Nearness of You, April in Paris. Couldn't ask for a better album. All right, so here's one of the reasons that the Fs are so big for me, and that is that I am a huge fan of Five Iron Frenzy. If you don't know Five Iron Frenzy, fantastic ska band based out of Denver, Colorado. One that I grew up with, and that has recently, I think, made their best music, although I still very much enjoy some of their earlier albums. Earlier albums. So right here we've got Upbeats and Beatdowns. This is an SMLXL vinyl release. I struggled to say their names earlier. This is in a very bright kind of blue vinyl, which really matches the cover. And this is their first album. This really got attention, for being a Christian ska band. Their very first song really deals a lot with the idea of the slaughtering of Native Americans for the sake of Christianity. So they're a Christian band that had no problem really saying some of the hard things, and I've always really appreciated that. They also have some really funny songs, which is kind of nice. It's nice to laugh a little once in a while. Then we have Quantity is Job 1. This one has My Evil Plan to Save the World. Dandelions, probably one of their best known songs, and unfortunately a song that's been getting more play as we've had, craziness in our world, is Get Your Riot Gear. And then you can't forget the Pants, These Are Not My Pants, the rock opera at the end of this album. Then we've got Five Iron Friends. Oh, I forgot to check and see if that was, I think that might just be on black. I forgot to check though, so let's take a quick look. I think I got pretty much all of these. Yeah, this is just black. Got pretty much all of these from SML XL vinyl because they were sort of the place to get them at the time. And the trouble with SML XL vinyl is that sometimes things will be out of print for a long time on their website. They'll still have it listed, and you're like, oh, look, I got that album. I can't wait to buy it. And then it's not actually there, and it won't be there forever, which is sort of the case with our newest album ever, which I do not have. So, All the Hype That Money Can Buy by Five Iron Frenzy is the next one. This album has a song called Fahrenheit, which is a song that really had a huge positive impact on me, and yet it's a song that, like, Reese, the lead singer, really wishes he had taken further. But kind of growing up in the faith tradition that I had, I needed to hear songs like that. There's also a song called A New Hope that was written after the Columbine shooting, which is a really powerful song as well. And their version of It's Not Unusual. Then we've got Five Iron Frenzy 2 Electric Boogaloo, which I wonder how many people even get that reference anymore, because it's a pretty old reference that they're touching on. But yeah, so Five Iron Frenzy 2 Electric Boogaloo. This one has Pre-Ex-Girlfriend, Far, Far Away, You Can't Handle This. A lot of great songs. Then, Engine of a Million Plots. This is an album I did not hear when it first came out. It just was not in a ska world at that time, and I guess didn't even really know that the album had come out for the most part. But this is such a good album, and it's got Zen and the Art of Xenophobia, which, if you ever get a chance to watch that music video, is absolute greatness. This is... Yeah, this one's on a colored pressing. And when I say colored pressing, I mean a crystal clear, basically, pressing. So that's this one. Real change for them with this album. It got a little bit more serious. I was about to say seriouser. Got a little bit more serious, but at the same time, you still have on this one, where is it here? Yeah, Battle Dancing Unicorns with Glitter is also on here. So not too serious. Not too serious. Then we have another. This is Five Iron Frenzy. This is Between Pavement and the Stars. Now, this one is an unoriginal vinyl pressing. And this may be the first unoriginal vinyl pressing I've had in my videos, which I cannot speak highly enough about unoriginal vinyl. When they do a pressing, it is gorgeous, it's well thought out, and it's something a fan would want. Look at that stunning sort of splatter. Absolutely gorgeous. And this is really an EP, although it does have, like 7 tracks on it. So it's a longer EP. But Into the Storm, Blizzards and Bygones, and God Hates Flags. Really great tracks. Beautiful album. And that was really a bonus, like an add-on to the Kickstarter for their last full-length album, because this had already been released, but it hadn't been released on vinyl. So, you know what, I'm going to pause this so I can get this back in its sleeve. But the album that I was picking up on the Kickstarter was this one, Until This Shakes Apart. So I was so pleased for them to do that on vinyl as an addition. But it's this one that this changed some stuff for me, I think. I mentioned that I think that their newest music is their best music. This is the reason why. Until This Shakes Apart. Again, this is an unoriginal vinyl pressing. Absolutely gorgeous. So we have this sort of clear, overlay. And then look at the artwork here. Absolutely gorgeous. Got the tie-in of dandelions. Got a great band photo in there. And then the actual pressing itself. Now, I have interviewed Leonore from the band. That was my first interview for my podcast. Yeah, look at how beautiful that is. And the sound quality is not the best because I didn't really know what I was doing as a podcaster yet. But she was a really gracious interviewee. gave me some advice on doing podcasts afterwards, as someone who I'm sure has been on quite a few of them and even had her own. But they are a band that they're always going to be kind of in my top bands, and they've had a huge impact on me. This album, Renegades, is my favorite song, and it really deals with school shootings again, because this is a band that has had personal connection to like 3 different school shootings. Still not graceful in getting the cover on. So let's pause. I said let's pause, and then I didn't. Awkward moments brought to you by me. This is a band that has really had personal connections to multiple school shootings and have really spoken out against them. This album also has While Supplies Last, which is a phenomenal song, Bullfight for an Empty Ring, Lonesome for Her Heroes. Highly recommend this album. If you don't own it, you really, really need to fix that. Okay. Next up, Flying Raccoon Suit, Afterglow, another fantastic ska band, and this album is killer. This is female fronted. Actually, they do have 2 different vocalists, but I think their primary vocalist is the female vocalist. This is the pressing. Oh, it's actually very different from one side to the other. Oh, there we go. So there we go. Really great band. This is a little bit more, a little bit edgier ska punk kind of album, but really a great album, and I highly recommend it. Driftwood is a fantastic song if you want to check it out. And then we've got the Foo Fighters' Greatest Hits. So I picked this up right after Taylor Hawkins passed away. I have never been a huge Foo Fighters fan, but I've appreciated them. I've liked their songs. They just weren't like one of my top bands. And so when Taylor passed away, I knew I definitely wanted to have some of them in my collection. And so I went and picked this up, and this is a really great compilation. It's got All My Life, Best of You, Everlong, My Hero, Learn to Fly, Skin and Bones, an acoustic version of Everlong at the very end. It's a gatefold. I think it's just on black vinyl, but it's a really phenomenal, really phenomenal compilation. Perfect for someone like me who's not a huge fan. I don't need every album, but I'm really pleased to have this Greatest Hits album. So, next up, another gatefold here. This is John Foreman's Seasons. So I had this on CD back when it first came out. John Foreman, of course, the lead singer for Switchfoot. He also puts out independent music, like solo music. And honestly, I really like both things for different reasons. The solo music is typically a little bit more folky, singer-songwritery. And this is 4 different albums, each one based on a season. So there's fall, winter, spring, and summer. And some of the songs on here that are big hits are Southbound Train is my favorite song on any of these. But Lord Save Me From Myself, Learning How to Die, In Love, Love Isn't Made, Your Love Is Strong, Resurrect Me, Instead of a Show, The House of God Forever. So yeah, really great stuff. And each album, I don't know if I'll pull every single one out, let's see. But each album is really, see, this one's probably the hardest to tell. This is a really, it actually looks really good on there. It's darker in here, but this really beautiful blue. This is the winter album. This was an expensive set, but I think that you really get your value worth. Here is Summer. So it's a gatefold with 4 LPs. So this is Fall, which is my favorite one. And this really, that almost looks brown on video, but it's like a really rich red. And the final LP, this one's maybe a little harder to tell the color on, but it's kind of a brownish as well. More brown than the other one is, for sure. So that's John Foreman's Seasons. If you've never heard Southbound Train, highly recommend it. So, yeah. All right. Still got quite a bit to do. We've got Fountains of Wayne, Welcome Interstate Managers, Hackensack, one of my absolute favorite songs. Had to get this. Really sad about the passing of Adam Schlesinger, but he left us some beautiful music. So I'm very glad to have some of it in the form of this album. Now this album, okay, so this Hackensack's one of my favorite songs, probably of all time, like one of my all-time best songs. And literally the track right before Hackensack is Stacy's Mom. So, and they're so different. So it's really fun to have them right next to each other. But yeah, so. Okay, another one of my favorite bands, The Frames. And Glenn Hansard, you'll see him come up again in the H's. Glenn Hansard is my all-time favorite musician, period. So this is The Frames album. This one is For the Birds. Wanted to make sure I didn't confuse the album titles. I believe this one's just black vinyl. Yep. So this one has Lay Me Down, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. And my favorite song, I actually talk about this in the most recent episode of my podcast with my friend Josh Glenn. When we saw them live, that song really blew me away, especially the storytelling around it. But this also has What Happens When the Heart Just Stops, and it has Headlong, and it has Santa Maria, all very good songs. The Frames For the Birds. Then we have The Frames Longitude, which is really sort of a greatest hits album. And not all of the Frames albums have been pressed to vinyl as far as I've seen. And it's hard to find them. But so this has God Bless Mom, 7 Day Mile, Happy, Santa Maria, Revelate, Fitzcarraldo, Star. I love Star. In the Deep Shade, Lay Me Down, The Cost, People Get Ready, Ship Caught in the Bay, None But I, What Happens When the Heart Just Stops, Your Face, Look Back Now, and Mighty Sword. So great album there. Highly recommend. Then we've got Aretha Franklin live at the Fillmore. This one is one, I think I don't know if I got this at Half Price Books or at a yard sale, but this live at the Fillmore. So this is a live album. It's got Respect. It's got her covering Bridge Over Troubled Water and Eleanor Rigby. Let's see here, Dr. Feelgood, and Spirit in the Dark. And one of them, she even has Ray Charles on there with her, and Reach Out and Touch. So great stuff. Got to have some Aretha. Speaking of Aretha, got some more Aretha. Got Who's Zoomin' Who? What's Zoomin' Who? The album is Who's Zoomin' Who, and Who's Zoomin' Who is the track on here. And this is one that my mom just picked up a bunch of stuff, and there was a couple copies of this, and I was like, I'll take one. So that's pretty fun. I haven't actually listened to this one yet, and I really need to. But I do love me some Aretha. Next up, another sort of on the edge of ska band, the Free Coasters. If you've never listened to them, they are so good. This is such a great album. Look What You've Done is on here, which is gorgeous. Magnolia. This is the Free Coasters, A Different Kind of Heat. And it is on hot pink kind of vinyl. So the Free Coasters, so good. So good. Get in the sleep. Anyone else? Is it just me who has like the hardest time getting your records in the sleep sometimes? Okay. All right. Now we move into another favorite band. I know I've probably said that like 50 times now, but this is Further Seems Forever, The Moon Is Down. Now I recently had a podcast episode just basically about this album. This is the 20th anniversary edition of The Moon Is Down. This is also done by Unoriginal Vinyl, which I just talked about them when I was talking about Five Iron Frenzy. And this is, if you're a fan of Further Seems Forever, first of all, Further Seems Forever is a band that Chris Carrabba was in before he was doing Dashboard. Technically, he was doing it at the same time. This comes with a giant poster, like of the album artwork. If I can do this without dropping everything. So, giant poster of the album artwork. It comes with, and by the way, we are getting close to done here. Comes with, of course, the album. And there were a couple different pressed variants of this. I got this one, which is like blue and pink. And again, this is one of those where it's so different from side to side. The back side, much more blue. Front side, much more pink. But this album has The Moon Is Down, The Bradleys, Snowbirds and Townies, which is all stuff I love. But really, this is the greatest thing about obviously the music's the greatest thing, but this is one of the best things about this set, is this phenomenal hardcover book where the band sort of tells their history in interview style, which is, something that was done in AP Magazine for a while. And they got the guy who was doing the AP Magazine interviews to do this. And it's great. You really get to hear sort of Chris and the guys from Further Seems Forever, which Further Seems Forever grew out of Strong Arm. You get to hear them really talk about how they got to where they got to. Because really, like, by the time the album came out, they were no longer together. Further Seems Forever would go on to make more music with different vocalists. And Chris Carrabba has come back, which we're going to talk about in a second. But it's really just a fascinating read. I felt like I knew a lot more about the band after I read the book. And again, me struggling just to get things in their home. Why don't you want to go home? Are you too good for your home? Answer me. Okay. So then we have Further Seems Forever, How to Start a Fire. I wish there was a little bit better pressing than this, because I love this album. This is a different vocalist on Further Seems Forever at this time. This is Jason Gleason. This is a cream-colored, kind of yellowish. I don't think you can tell how yellow it is from this video. Cream-colored, kind of yellowish vinyl. This album, a little bit more on the screamo side than the Chris Carrabba stuff, just a little bit. But Insincerity as an art form was like, I played that song so much back in the day. This is a great, great album. Highly recommend. Now, I don't have everything that Further Seems Forever puts out, but I do have one more Further Seems Forever album, and I hope to get everything. They don't have a ton of albums, and I love them. But the other one I do have is Penny Black, and I got this at like a small record store near me. Now, Penny Black is the album that saw Chris Carrabba come back to Further Seems Forever for an album. And this one, the big song on this was really So Cold, was the big single. There's a music video of that, and it's really a great song. Very catchy. This is on a red vinyl, and comes with a little liner notes thing there. And it is actually, if I can get this back in real quick, I will show you. Hey, that one went in pretty well. It is also a gatefold with just artwork inside. And that's Penny Black. So, yeah, we got a 5-minute video of the E's and almost a 25-minute of the F's. And honestly, we're almost halfway through my collection at the F's, which just tells you that I've had a lot of big bands that I was really into in the earlier letters of the alphabet. Probably be a little bit before I can get on to the G's, but keep watching these videos.